Hello, this is Nia with the Rainbow Cauldron, and I'm here to do a follow-up reading for S. It's a follow-up past life reading that it was a three-person together in a past life. Okay, and I'm going to get straight into this. I actually already did this reading, so I'm just going over everything that I felt when I did the reading. Okay, so the first three cards that are being put down are the significator cards, and these were the three cards from that life in your previous reading. And we have the Ten of Swords, which represented him, M, and we had the Wheel, which represented you, and we had the Seven of Swords, which represented her. And I'm going to put them this way where you're in the middle because I feel like you were in the middle. So their energies are connected to you in this. All right, and then the next card is who you were, the energies surrounding you in this life, and that is the Ace of Cups. And I'm going to put, this is who he was, and that is the Prince of Swords. Who she was, and that's the Star, and which that showed up in your previous reading as well. And the cards down here is his connection to you, which is the Ace of Swords, her connection to you, and the Three of Swords, and finally the end of your life, and we have death. Very fitting. Okay, so in this life, we're seeing that that same triangle energy that that was shown in the last reading. I had said that I felt that the relationship between you three was something of a love triangle. We're seeing those again with these cards, like with the Three of Swords. They're practically in the shape of a triangle. The Three of Swords, and the Swords cards connecting the two of them. All the Swords cards have been connecting both of them, him and her. And we also have a connection between you and her, where we have the Ace and the Star. Those are both, look at the flowing water in both of those. That's showing a big connection between you and her. And we have a connection with you and him, where you guys are both aces. Okay, so we're getting this big connection with all three of you. All three of you were very much in each other's lives. Like, just that same love triangle feeling that we got before. Okay, and okay, with the previous reading, I'm going to set that right there. We got with these three cards, you very trusting of the flow in life, very trusting in the changes, the wheel of the year, evolution, things like that. It's a very trust in the flow of life sort of card. And then with both of their cards, we had gotten a betrayal. And because they were both swords, they were very much connected with each other. And okay, so we'll put that right here, this, and then we'll put the death card right there. Okay, so we'll start right here, who you were. With this card, we're seeing that spiritual energy that I mentioned in the previous reading. Very connected with the earth, the world around you, and very empathic. This is a very deeply emotional card, and very in touch with your senses, as we see with the five streams of water coming down from the cup. They represent the five senses, and you were very connected with that. Deep emotions, being able to sense the emotions in others, and that is a psychic ability. It's you were an empath. You could feel the emotions of others very deeply. And this card, like I said, is connected with a couple of the other cards in this reading. It's connected with the wheel, which represented you, in that both of these cards very much indicate a trust, a trusting energy. With the wheel, what's coming through is a trust in others. The wheel trusts that life will go on. The wheel is always turning. Life is always changing and evolving. That sort of trusting aspect. And we see a similar energy in the ace, where we're trusting that there will always be that never-ending flow of water from the cup to the earth. And the other connections with this card have to do with the star and the ace, but we will get to that in a moment. Okay, and then the next card, just repurposing that. Okay, this is who he was, and this is the Prince of Swords. And he had an aggressive personality in this life, and this is a rather aggressive looking card, you know, don't you think? A man charging into battle and focused on only one thing. And he had anger issues in this life. I feel like his nature was the exact opposite of yours. With the ace and the wheel, it's a very calm, cool, collected sort of energy, but with him, it's very aggressive. It's very aggressive, impetuous, angry, impatient, and he's not willing to wait for things to come his way. It's a feeling that what he wants, he gets. And we're also seeing a lot of swords in this reading. The two cards representing him, the 10 and the 7 of swords, which represented both of them in the previous reading, the Prince of Swords representing him, and the 2 swords that represent each of their connections with you. Lots and lots of swords energy. And swords have to do with communication, thought, intellect, etc. He had a very sharp tongue. He was sharp-witted, always quick to a comeback, but he lacked what you had in abundance, and that was compassion and empathy. And this was part of the well, actually the main part of what your attraction was to him. It was almost as if you envied his ability to act carelessly and without emotion. He could do things that, you know, it didn't make sense for you because you were so deeply rooted in your emotions, that sort of thing. And with the star, here we're seeing that connection between you and her. This represents who she was, but we're seeing a big connection between these 2 cards. And like I said, it's that flowing water energy that we're seeing here. If we hadn't have done that previous reading, just getting these 2 cards, my initial feeling would be sisters. But since we know that you were not sisters, that you were actually co-workers of some kind, having a business relationship, that kind of alters the perception of this card. The star often indicates children, particularly twins. But in this case, we're seeing that you and her were actually very much alike. The flowing water from the ace, and the flowing water from the vessels in the star. She likely had an empathic gift as well. And the two of you were so alike in this life that you actually repelled each other. And that, you know, we can see that happens sometimes when we get really frustrated with people who actually have a lot of the same traits that we have. And that's a very natural reaction. And that's the sort of reaction that I'm getting from this life, is that you and her were actually so similar that you repelled each other. And it explains why both of you were interested in the same man and why he was interested in both of you, because both of you were very similar. So that's the energies we get from that. Your connection to him is the Ace of Swords. And here we're saying a connection to you on many levels. First, your card, the Ace of Cups, and this card are both aces. Automatically we see that these two are very much related. You loved him because of his ability to basically cut through the emotional bullshit. That's what this sword, Excalibur to be more precise, is doing here. Bursting through that emotional pool of water and pointing to the sky where one can get a bigger picture. His ability to be so cold and unemotional was exactly what drew you to him. He was kind of an escape for you, and that's a lot of what we're seeing in this card. Your connection to her is the Three of Swords, and this represents quite literally a broken heart. She essentially stole your man, you know, so and that's a very literal interpretation of this card, but it's the one that rings the most true. In traditional tarot decks, this card shows a big heart in the middle of the sky, and there's three swords going through the heart, and there's a storm raging behind it. But in this deck, we're seeing three swords placed on top of a heart-shaped stone, and pointing to the three grooves in the tree to make the symbol, the druidic symbol, Awen, which is representing the truth revealed, truth that hurts and turns the heart to stone. And that's, I think that's very clear and exactly what shows exactly the relationship between all three of you, really. And then finally, we have the end of your life and death. That's what we're getting, death right here. Very fitting for this position, right? Unfortunately, many times when I see death in this position, like when I see death in a death position, it feels like something that was forced or happened too soon. And that's the feeling I'm getting here. I believe that you died by a person's hand. It could have been murder, it could have been an accident, or it could have been suicide. Some sort of death that didn't occur naturally, and that a person caused. The first thought was that he could have killed you, but the more I thought about that, that just didn't seem right. It seemed too likely, you know what I mean? Just it just didn't feel right. But I think honestly, and I don't like to say this because I don't want to, like, cause any emotional trouble for you, but it honestly feels like it was more of a suicide type of thing. Here we have you, an empath who was not in control of her gift, seeking solace in a man who had little empathy and no qualms about breaking your heart, and leaves you for the one person that you had the most hatred for. And I think this caused an emotional breakdown for you. And it's very possible that in this life you took your own life. And I know that can be very painful to hear, and I wouldn't say it if I wasn't feeling those energies. It feels that in this life, your death was caused by a person, and suicide seems the most likely in this scenario. In my opinion, this had a lot to do with your inability in this life to control your psychic gift, empathy. If if you feel that in your current life you may have some sort of gift, I feel that this life is warning you to take control of it and to not let it control you, which is kind of a cliche thing to say, but it's wise advice. Your other lives also indicated very spiritual and or psychic gifts, so it's very possible that you still have it in your current life. As for your relationship with your friends, this life that you three were together in was obviously a negative experience. You and she didn't get along at all, and he broke your heart. Um, However, that doesn't mean the same thing is going to happen in your current life. You guys stay together in a following life because of those strong emotions between you three. The positive and negative aspects, the details of those emotions, can change from life to life. So just because in this life your connection with these two was very negative, doesn't mean you're going to have a negative connection with them now. It just means that there were strong energies connecting the three of you. And I hope that's helpful. Thanks so much for allowing me to do this for you, and thank you so much for your patience. Um, I hope this was helpful. I wish you all the best, and blessed be.